The Biden administration is ramping up efforts to distribute and administer coronavirus vaccinations. So far, more than 36.8 million vaccine doses have been administered. 7.5 million people are fully vaccinated. On Friday, the Pentagon announced more than 1,000 active duty troops are being sent to sites across the country to help distribute vaccines. Meanwhile, the Food and Drug Administration is considering giving Johnson & Johnson emergency use authorization for its single-shot vaccine. Through it all, the death toll grows, roughly 460,000 in the U.S. alone. CBS's Michael George has more.
More and more mega vaccination sites opened this week in all kinds of places. Casinos in Missouri. In New York, Yankee Stadium's launch was complete with a legendary player.
He used to save ball games. Now he's helping us save lives.
Mariano Rivera asked everyone to play ball.
Now it's time to support you and let you know that it's okay to be vaccinated.
And the National Football League wants into the game, too, offering its 32 stadiums as vaccination sites. All that real estate may be needed. Distribution of a vaccine developed by Johnson & Johnson is now before the FDA for emergency use authorization. The FDA's green light could make 100 million doses available by summer, with the advantage of being a single dose, shown to be 66% effective in preventing moderate and severe COVID cases, and 85% effective against the most severe symptoms. It would be the third vaccine, joining Moderna and Pfizer's stressed supplies.
Clearly, we don't have enough of the Moderna Pfizer RNA vaccines right at this point to deal with the pandemic in the U.S., let alone the world.
Variants spreading fast could threaten the progress already made. One variant from South Africa was found in Virginia, now one of 3 states reporting cases. And the B.1.1.7 strain, first appearing in England, showed up in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
This person was obviously exposed by someone else, and likely that there is this variant that is already present in Kalamazoo County.
Joining us now is Jodie Guest. She is a professor and the vice chair of the Department of Epidemiology at Emory University in Atlanta. Good to have you with us, doctor, and thank you for all that you do. As we mentioned, the FDA is considering emergency use authorization for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So how does that vaccine stack up against the ones that are already in use, and how would a third vaccine potentially be a game changer in the United States?
Well, just having more vaccine is going to be a huge difference as we need to roll out more vaccine to more people. We have a lot of people waiting for vaccine, and we need more all the time. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is a really great vaccine. The data is exciting. 85% effective at preventing severe COVID-19, 100% effective at preventing death. We need this vaccine as quickly as possible.
Amen to that. Let's talk, though, about some of the different things that are happening. A study in the UK is looking at mixing different vaccines. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so far, that's not what we've done in these clinical trials, and we need to follow what the trials have shown us, which is to keep the vaccines together. There are a few times when people might need to have a Pfizer second dose instead of a Moderna, but really we should stick to the vaccine that you first started with. And the Johnson & Johnson, as you pointed out in the earlier clip, is just a one-dose vaccine, and so there will be no need to mix for that one.
So let's stick with that point for a moment, because as more coronavirus vaccines roll out, many people are wondering if we need to see which ones are better suited for specific groups, or at this point, are we still just in crisis mode and we should just be moving as fast as possible? I can see arguments on both sides.
Yeah, at this point, I would say we're still in crisis mode. We really need to get the virus under control as quickly as possible. The more virus that's out in the community, the more it will mutate. And we know that these mutations have not been what we want to see. They're more transmissible. And perhaps even the one in Brazil is showing some reinfection rates that we don't want to see. So I would say we're still in crisis mode, and we want to get as much vaccine out there as possible and not pick where each vaccine goes. However, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine does not need the cold storage issues that we see with the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine. And so it's going to be easier to get out to rural communities and other locations that aren't going to have cold storage options at the -70 degrees.
Well, scientists are also turning to so-called long-haul patients for answers about how the virus is evolving. You mentioned some of those different variant strains. A 45-year-old Boston patient, for example, was sick for 154 days and showed some signs of the first sightings of a key mutation that were later found in COVID variants. How do these patients help us track variants and predict how the virus might evolve?
So we know that viruses love to evolve. And when there's a lot of virus in a community, it gives them more chance to evolve. And so the fact that we're seeing variants and mutations is not surprising. This is what viruses do. Sometimes they mutate to be less transmissible, and currently we're seeing some mutations that are more transmissible. The people who are having long-term complications of COVID-19, we need to recognize this is going to be a significant problem going forward in our country and across the world. And while most people do really well with COVID-19, we do have people who have very long-term or very significant long-term complications, and we yet don't know how long those will last, but we do know they are affecting most body systems if you do end up with long-term or long haulers or long COVID, all the different names that this is being called. And it's going to be something we're going to be dealing with for a long time in our country.
Well, tomorrow night is the biggest night in football, Super Bowl Sunday. It's interesting because usually you think about those big events as having the potential to be a super spreader event. But in this case, actually, the people who are there in the stands are more likely to be vaccinated. They're being socially distanced. And the problem then becomes all of us at home hosting Super Bowl parties and having people come over and yell at the screens together. How concerned are you about these individual parties becoming potential super spreader events?
We really need to be watching the Super Bowl with just the people you live with this year. This is not the year to be having a Super Bowl party. It is something you can watch on TV, and we should be watching it if you're interested in it, but we should be doing it with just those we live with. We do not want people getting together for this. And if you are with someone you do not live with, you need to be masked. We know, outdoor events are certainly safer than indoor, but please watch the Super Bowl from your home. We have just started coming down from the really peak numbers we saw for COVID-19 in the United States based on holiday travel and holiday gatherings. And we don't want the Super Bowl to be another reason to see these numbers go down. We want to continue that really positive trajectory we're seeing with numbers.
All right. Jodie Guest, thank you.
You're so welcome.